So, in this class, we'll be looking at Devi's mantra form. Okay, so far we covered Devi's sthula form, a form that is comprehensible by our five senses, right? Something that we can visualize with our limited intelligence. Then there are five forms of Devi that will be explored throughout Lalita Sahasranama. So, one is the sthula form, the physical form which our five senses can comprehend. That is something we saw starting from verse 4 until verse 20. Then we saw the Bhandasura Vadha, okay, which Devi had performed in that form. Okay. So since the Bhandasura Vadha is an attribute to the Sthula form, we saw that along with the Sthula form. Now comes the second section, Devi's mantra. So mantra is mananat trayate iti mantra. Mananat trayate means that which when you keep remembering will save you. Save you from what? Okay, it will stop the working of your mind. When I say stop the working of your mind, I don't mean to say that you will forget how to think and act. No. According to Vedantic psychology, okay, it's this beautifully spoken about in Patanjali Yoga Sutras. I want to quote that here. Okay. The starting itself is Atha Yoga Anushasanam. So therefore, yoga is expounded. Yogas chitta vritti nirodha. What is yoga? What is yoga? Yoga means yuja samadhau. Yoga means when the individual consciousness merges with the supreme consciousness, then that is called yoga. Yoga means to join. Okay. Join what? When the individual consciousness merges with the supreme consciousness, then that is yoga. Okay. So what happens when the individual consciousness merges into the supreme consciousness? Then yoga is chitta vritti nirodha. Your individual consciousness runs your subtle energy body, which is subtle body, which is called chitta vritti. That is the working of the mind. So mind is not one whole thing. It is made up of 4 to 5 components. One is manaha, manas. Manas is that component of your chitta which generates thoughts. So train of thoughts that you see is called manas. Okay. After your train of thoughts, what else do you have? Mind. Appadina, what else would you say? Thoughts is mind, okay, which is one component of chitta. What is another component? Your intellect, your buddhi, the one that makes decisions. That is called buddhi. So buddhi is also part of this chitta. Then there's something called as ego, I, my identity, my created identity. The experiences that I've had since childhood, I create notions and assumptions about who I am. I attach a name to the I and I define what I do, what I don't do, what I like, what I don't like. This conditioning is called ego. Ahankara. Okay, that is also part of chitta. And then there is your limited consciousness. So all this is together called chitta. One moment. Okay. So, yoga is chitta vritti nirodha, means these things, the components we just discussed, your intellect. Intellect is what decides now the decision making faculty. Okay. Then your manas, where your train of thoughts go on. And then there is your ability to understand things, right? It is called chitta. So chitta is not one component. Chitta is chitta, manas, ahankara, buddhi. All of this put together is called chitta. Now, when you stop the functioning of chitta, that is when Yoga Sutra says, the third sutra, Yogas Chitta Vritti Nirodha, Tatra Sarupyam. When Chitta Vritti Nirodha happens, when your chitta stops its function, you are able to understand who you are in your true essence. Yogas Chitta Vritti Nirodha, Tada Drashtuhu Swarupe Avasthanam. Then you realize that you are the seer. You are able to identify yourself as the seer and not the seen. Tada drashtuhu swarupe avasthanam. If that doesn't happen, then what happens? Vritti sarupyam itaratra. You identify with the actions that you do. Simple definition. If you don't understand who you are as the seer, then you identify yourself with whatever actions the chitta does, the work that the body does. You think that is your true self. So, therefore, it is very necessary that the working of the chitta stops. Okay. So, why have I talked about this? Because mantra is a tool that we can use to stop the working of the chitta. Chitta vritti nirodha can happen through mantra. So, when you keep repeating a mantra, it saves you. What does it save you from? The continuous working of the chitta, which can keep you deluded in your outside samsara. From that, you are saved. Therefore, it is called mantra. So, Devi exists as in mantra form. That is one of her forms. Just like we saw the form with the Pashankusha Dhanurbana Rupa, that is one Rupa, the form that we can all understand with our five senses. Now now we are going to explore the mantra form, that which can help us merge our individual consciousness with the divine consciousness just by repeating that mantra. Okay. So still 33.5th shloka, we saw that Devi gave a new life to Kama, Manmatha. She became the Sanjeevan Aushadhihi, the new life giver for Manmatha by her glance. Okay. So the 34th, the balance of the 34th shloka is Srimad Vagbhava Kotaika Swarupa Mukha Pankaja. This is where the mantra form of Devi, the description pertaining to the mantra form starts. Okay. I'm not sure how elaborate I'll be able to tell you. Will I be able to cover all aspects of it? But I will try to simplify it as much as possible. Because I mean, personally, I don't believe in, going deep into the technicalities. Rather, it is important we at least understand entirely the gist of what it is. At least that much. Not a simplified form. Because when we complicate it, Devi becomes kind of inaccessible to us. We don't want that. She is Bhakta Sulabha. She is very easily available to us. So let us understand it as simplified as, it is possible. Okay. I'll try to make it as simplified as possible. In case there are questions, please do stop. This is a little, abstract subject. Okay. Lalita Sahasranama has a lot of these chunks of abstractness in it. Okay. So let us try and explore this as much as possible. So Srimad Vagbhava Kotaika Swarupa Mukha Pankaja. In Devi's mantra form, there are 15 syllables. The 15 syllables are called in Sanskrit as Panchadashakshari. Devi is called Panchadashakshari because she exists as the 15 syllables. That is her mantra form. If you can equally divide 15 syllables, you will have 3 parts, right? 3 parts of 5 syllables each. Right? So the first part becomes Devi's Mukha. The first part of those 5 syllables is called Vagbhava. What is it called? Vagbhava. Kuta means division. The 3 divisions of the entire 15 syllables. The first division has a name. It is called Vagbhava. Vag means speech, knowledge, jnana, right? So the kuta that becomes the source of speech and knowledge is called Vagbhava. So the first set of 5 syllables, which forms the first kuta, is called Vagbhava. So what is the adjective attached to it here? Shrimat. It is auspicious, glorious. So that auspicious Vagbhava Eka Vagbhava Kutaika. Kuta plus Eka Kutaika. Eka Swarupa. So the Vagbhava alone becomes the true essential form of Devi's Mukha Pankaja, the lotus-like face of Devi. So we saw Devi's face is so resplendent, reddish in color, so glorious as the rising of 1,000 suns. In mantra form, the first set of those 15 syllables, which constitutes 5 syllables, becomes her face. It represents, those sounds represent her face. And what are these syllables responsible for? They represent that she is the source of speech and knowledge. So it is called Vagbhava. So that forms a lotus-like face. So Srimad Vagbhava Swarupa Mukha Pankaja. Pankaja means lotus. Mukha means face. So Vagbhava Ekta Swarupa, that becomes the true essential, the ultimate form of her face. Okay. Why is face very important? It's the first identity of who you are. Secondly, when they talk about face, it represents that part of your body that thinks, which is intellect, right? Where knowledge is stored. Where is knowledge? Generally, in layman terms, when someone talks about knowledge, which part of the body they refer to? The head. Arivirka. Right? Right. So we refer to the third floor. Ultimately. So that it has a reason. Because that is where Devi is Jnana Swarupa. Right? So the first set of 5 syllables is Vagbhava. Right? Srimad Vagbhava Swarupa Mukha Pankaja. Now after the face, what do we have? Neck. So how else can you divide the body? Up till the neck to your abdomen. So Kantha. Kantha means neck, Adha means downward. So downward to your neck, Kantadha. Kati Paryanta. Kati means hip. Paryanta means till that. So downward from the neck till the hips. This form, the middle section. It becomes the Madhya Kotha. The middle set of 5 syllables. That is called the Madhya Kotha. It is also called Kamakala Kotha. So it represents the Ichha Shakti, the desire, the divine will. So up till the face it is Jnana Shakti. The middle section is the Ichha Shakti, the desire, energy of desire. It is Madhya Kota. So Devi's middle section is where her Ichha Shakti resides. So the middle of the 5, of the 15, the middle 5 is called the Madhya Kota. So she is a very embodiment of that Madhya Kota. Okay. So 35th shloka, first half, Kantadha Katiparyanta, below the neck till the hips. It is Madhyakuta, and Devi is of the form of that Madhyakuta. She herself is that Madhyakuta. Kantadha Katiparyanta Madhyakuta Swarupini. Next. Shakti Kutaikatapanna Katyadho Bhagadharini. Katya Adha means below the hips, below the waist. What is below the waist? The form of the mantra that forms the last set of 5 syllables, that becomes Devi's form waist downwards. The form of Devi below her waist constitutes of these 5 syllables, which is called Shakti Kota. So this is the Kriya Shakti. The divine action comes from this form of Devi, this part of Devi. So Ekatapanna means which is completely identified with. Shakti Kutaikatapanna means one with the Shakti Kota. Which part of that? Devi's part waist downwards. She bears the Kriya Shakti. So of the 15 syllables, the last part becomes Devi's waist downwards. And that is the form representing her as the Kriya Shakti. So she is identified with the Shakti Kota. Okay. Now, I want to quote Saundarya Lahari Shlokam here to understand what are the syllables they are talking about. Okay. So in Saundarya Lahari, Shloka 32 it elaborates what these 15 syllables are. Okay. Shivashakti Kamaha Kshitiratharavihi शीतकिरणः Smaro Hamsa Shakra Tadanuja Paramaraharayah Amihilleka Vistisrivi रवसानेषु घटिता भजन्ते वर्णास्ते तव जनामावयवताम्. Your name itself consists of 15 syllables. What are they? Shivaha. Shivaha is the name for the Bijakshara Ka. Shivaha is Ka. Shivaha is the name for the Bijakshara, the sound of which is Ka. Shakti. The Shakti sound is E. Sorry, Shakti sound is A. A. So, Ka, A, Kamaha. Kamaha is Manmatha. This Bijakshara is E. So, Ka, A, E. Then, Shivaha, Shaktihi, Kamaha, Kshitihi. Kshitihi means earth. The Prithvi Bija, the earth Bija is La. Then, Atha Ravihi. And after that, Ravihi. Ravi means Surya. The Surya Bija is Ha. Okay. So, Ka, E, I, La. Okay. Ka, E, I, La. 4 bijas. And then the Ravi bija, Surya bija, Ha. Then Shita Kiranaha, Chandra bija, Sa. So the first 4 syllables are Ka, E, I, La. The next 4 syllables are Ravihi, Shita Kiranaha, Smaro, Hamsaha. So Ravihi is Ha. Shita Kiranaha is Chandra, Sa. Smaraha, again Manmatha bija, Ka. Hamsaha, Ha. Okay. Then these are the 4 syllables in the second set. In the third set, Tadanucha paramara harayaha. Sorry. Shakraha tadanucha paramara harayaha. This is the third set. What is in the third set? Shakraha. Shakra means Indra. Indra bija is again La. Tadanucha. After that, paramara harayaha. Para bija is Sa. Mara is again Manmatha bija Ka. And then Hari. Hari bija La. Okay. So kaye ila. Hasaka ha. Hasaka halaha. Asaka hala. Sakalaha. This is told already. Okay. And then Ami Rille Kabihi. These are all bound by Hreem. Ami Rille Kabihi Tisribihi. 3 Hreems placed in after each of these syllables together form the 15 syllables. So put together the mantra is Ka E I Lahreem. Hasaka Halahreem. Sakalahreem. Okay. Now I am not giving you a mantra upadesha. This is not a mantra upadesha for anybody who is listening to this. This has its own krama. And I request you not to chant this because I am not doing a mantra upadesha. Understand that the 15 syllables being referred to here is Ka E I Lahreem in the first set, Hasaka Halahreem in the second set, Sakalahreem in the third set. Okay. If you are not initiated into the mantra, but if you want the benefits of chanting the mantra, you can chant the 32nd shloka of Saundarya Lahari. Shiva Shakti Kamaha Kshitirathara Vishita Kiranaha Smaroham Sashakraha Tadanucha Paramara Harayaha. So instead of directly saying the bijas, Adi Shankaracharya has given the names to the bijas in this shloka. Ami Hrille Kabhihi, bounding Hrim. Tisribihi, 3 times. Avasaneshu, in the gaps. Therefore, you get bhajante, varnaste, you get syllables which are your name itself, which is you itself. This is the meaning of the shloka. Okay, you can chant the 32nd shloka if you want the effects of chanting the mantra, but never ever do it without a proper initiation from a guru. And I am not qualified to initiate you. Okay. So, this is what is spoken about here. Kaye Lahrim becomes the Vag Bhavakuta, which is Devi's face. Hasaka Halahrim becomes, Hasaka Halahrim becomes the Madhyakuta, the Ichha Shakti of Devi. Sakalahrim becomes the Shakti Kuta, the form below the waist of Devi. So together, there are 3 kutas, 5 syllables each, together forming 15 syllables. Okay. Now, the 36th nama says Moola Mantratmika. This is Devi's Moola Mantra, and she herself is that sound. The mantra and Devi are not separate. The mantra will not lead you to the Devi. In this case, the mantra itself is Devi. What did I say? Mananat Rayate. So a tool which when you keep repeating can stop the faculties, the working of the faculties of your chitta. This is what I told. But this mantra of Devi, it is Devi herself. It is her own form. It is not a separate tool which will make you reach her. The tool itself is her. So Bhavana Upanishad very beautifully says, Dhyana Dhyatra Dhyeyanam Abheda Bhavanam Sri Chakra Pujanam. The meditation is Devi. The one who is meditating is Devi. And what needs to be attained through meditation, which is the Devi herself. All of this is Devi. If you do this, then it is the worshipping of the Sri Chakra. Dhyana Dhyatra Dhyeyanam Abheda Bhavanam Sri Chakra Pujanam. Same sentiment comes in Moola Mantratmika. Say the sacred mantra itself is Devi. Devi, if you want to understand Devi's essential nature, if you ask what is she, then these sounds represent herself. It's not something that will lead you to her. The mantra itself is her. It's very profound, something that we need to understand. Devi is there in all forms for us. She is available in all forms. You want me in the sound form, available. You want me in a stula form, I'm available. You cannot comprehend me with the sound, take me to the stula form. Whichever form you want, I am there. You cannot escape me. Because she is the supreme consciousness, right? She is there. Right? She's everywhere. She's all pervasive. We cannot say there is a part of this universe or a part of anything that is without her. So when you talk about sounds, the Shabda Brahman, which the entire universe pervades, she is in the form of these syllables. So she's Moola Mantratmika. Her essential nature itself is this Moola Mantra. Now, what can I say about Panchadashakshari? One quota of Panchadashakshari is equivalent to one Gayatri Mantra. If you chant one round of Panchadashakshari, it is equivalent to chanting 3 times of Gayatri Mantra. It's that potent and powerful. Okay. It is a mantra which is capable of giving you what you need in this birth and to take you to moksha after this birth. The only mantra that can do both. And when I read that shloka, you would have realized all the Devatas Bija mantra come within this one Mula mantra. So you don't have to, it means all the Shakti of all Devatas is with Lalita Devi. Every Shakti comes from her. So worshipping all Devatas is actually embodied in her. All the Shaktis are embodied in her. Right? If you look at the shloka there, from Adi Shankaracharya Saundari Lali. Shivaha, Shaktihi, Kamaha, Kamaha Manmata. Shitihi is the earth. Ravihi is the Surya. Shita Kiranaha Chandra. Smaraha is again Manmatha. Hamsaha is the mantra for the Guru or the supreme deities. Shakraha is Indra. Okay. Mara Harayaha. Hari. So every deity is there within this mantra itself. All their bijas are included, which means all the energy, all the Shaktis that we talk about, she is an embodiment of that. And all Devatas receive their energy from her. Now, where do I have a pramana for this? Is there a proof for what I'm saying? Yes. When we go to Devi Mahatmya, when we talk about Mahishasuravada, there is a beautiful set of shlokas which say the Devatas are sitting and brooding about what to do with Mahishasura. All the Devatas became very angry. It's a congregation. Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra, everybody sitting there. From their anger arose a form. From each of their bodies arose a light. It was put together and it assumed the form of a female. Okay. Tad Abhun Nari. It became a female. From each of the Shakti of each Devata, everything came together in one form and it assumed the form of a female. Okay. And Devi Mahatmya says which body part came from which god, which Devata. Okay. Devi's face came from where, the shoulders came from where, everything is detailed. We will look into it at a different context. But what I'm trying to say is, this is a proof. Like whichever text you see, you will see the same concept, no matter who has written it, from what era it comes. The same thing is repeated in all the texts. All the energies of the Devas put together become Devi. Or in other words, Devi is the one who supplies the Shakti to all the Devatas. Worshipping Devi is equivalent to worshipping all the Devatas. Because she constitutes their Moola energy. The root energy of all the Devatas comes from her. And even Devi Mahatmya says, each Devata gave from their armory, from their Ayudha, they gave Ayudha to Devi. And she held 18 such Ayudhas. Like Parameshwara gave his Trishula to her. Right? Mahavishnu gave his Conch, Gada, Padma to her. It's very detailed, which is why I'm not going to be. It's an entire adhyaya if I start talking about it, right? But what in short, I want to convey that every Devata Shakti is Devi Lalita. It comes from her. In the Bija itself, we saw every Devata's Bija is included in her Mula Mantra. Why? She is the root cause. She is the Mula Prakriti behind the energy, the Shakti of all the Devatas. Which is why worshipping her is equivalent to worshipping all the Devatas. This is also spoken about in Saundarya Lari. There's a very beautiful shloka which says, Hey Devi, the Devi Sahacharis tell her, walk very carefully. The crowns of Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra, everybody is at your feet. Devi is seeing Parameshwara, she is standing up, she's running to walk to him. She's running to him. And her Sahacharis say, don't run so fast, you are going to step onto some crown. All the Devatas' crown are at your feet. And when I listen to these sounds, it is so melodious. That's what Adi Shankara says. Devi is standing up when she sees Parameshwara. Indra, Mahavishnu, Brahma, everybody is bowing down to her. The crowns are at her feet. And the Sachari say, careful, don't get hurt. Don't get your feet on any of those crowns, you will get hurt. So, the Vyakhyana for the shloka says, worshipping Devi is equivalent to worshipping every other Devata because they fall at her feet. The same sentiment we can see, we can understand from the mantra, the Mula mantra also. The Mula mantra constitutes the Bija mantra of all the Devatas. Or, in other words, Devi is the Mula Prakriti, the Shakti behind all the Devatas. And therefore, worshipping Devi is equivalent to worshipping all of these Devatas put together. Therefore, she is called Mula Mantratmika. She herself is the Mula Mantra. She is available in all forms, all sizes, all shapes. She is right now here within you, outside you, within me, outside me. She is speaking through me, she is listening through you. Right? This is Devi. Okay, understood? Mula Mantratmika. The 36th shloka, first sentence, second half. Mula Kuta Traya Kalevara. Mula means original, root. Kuta means section or parts. Traya means three. So the three primary sections of the Mula Mantra, which I just spoke about. Kaye Lahari, Sakahalahari, Sakalahari. Kalevara means her form, her body itself constitutes of these three sections. If you have done yoga, if you are asked to do Om chanting, you will generally be told when you extend O, focus on the part below your hips. When you balance O and M, it is the vibration at the middle of your body. When you shorten O and balance you elongate then that becomes the upper part of your body. If you ever do Om chanting, when you go to yoga studio, this is taught you. So energy wise, how is your body divided? Up till the neck, from the neck to the torso part, below the torso. Similarly, Devi, her body, Kalevara, her body itself is these three kutas of the original mantra, the Mula mantra, from which every other mantra has come. She herself is the Mula mantra from which every other mantra has come. Her body itself is this Mula mantra. What is the meaning of Kutatraya Kalevara? Her body is made of these three divisions of the Mula mantra. Mula Mantratmika, Mula Kutatraya Kalevara. Is it clear? Whatever I explained about the mantra, its divisions, its forms, how it is the root mantra behind all the mantras, are you able to understand every part of it?
Yes, ma'am.
Other questions, Zirka?
ಇಲ್ಲ clear.
So, this is Mula Kutatraya Kalevara. With this 35th shloka and a half ends. Mula Mantratmika, Mula Kutatraya Kalevara. So, Devi's mantra form. The shlokas pertaining to Devi's mantra form ends here. Starting from 33.5 till 35.5. Now, after 35.5, this is Devi's Kundalini form. Okay. कुलामृतैक रसिका कुल संकेत पालिनी. What is Kula? Kula means it's a tradition of Shakti. That's a Srividya tradition, which refers to Shakti as the union of Shiva and Shakti. Now, this tradition was very widely practiced in Kashmir. And the followers of this tradition were called Kaulas. If you see someone having the surname Kaul, 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 then they are these people. They came from the Kaula tradition, the Kula tradition. Kula means tradition. Generally, we say our Kula means what? Our family tradition, right? Without an adjective, if someone says Kula, it means Shakti's tradition, the tradition of Sri Vidya. In this tradition of Sri Vidya, in this tradition of Shakti, Devi is worshipped as the union of Shiva and Shakti. Okay. This also forms part of what is called Kashmiri Shaivism. This tradition was widely practiced in Kashmir. Okay. If I have to summarize this, I think I already spoke about this. Shiva is the Prakasha, Devi is the Vimarsha Shakti. Shiva is energy, Devi is the one who radiates that energy. So both are inseparable. That is Kashmiri Shaivism. And in the Kula Tantra, in this tradition, Kaula Tantra, Devi is the union of Shiva and Shakti. She is the seat of divine energy. So that is called Kula. Okay. Amrita. Amrita means something that gives you immortality, right? We say it's nectar. Okay. What do you mean by Kulamrita? When you practice the Kaula tradition, you get this nectar of immortality that comes from the union of Shiva and Shakti. Eka Rasika means exclusively that alone. Rasika, she enjoys. What does this mean? What does the name mean? Kulamrita Rasika. She is the one who enjoys this alone. What does she enjoy this? What alone she enjoys? Kulamrita. The bliss that arises, the nectar that comes out of the union of Shiva and Shakti. What does this mean? This has so many esoteric meanings behind this one Nama. I don't even know how much I'll be able to tell you. I know very few. Okay. One is, I told you this is about Devi's Kundalini form. It is told that Devi coils up as a serpent in the form of a snake that is coiled into 3.5 rounds in our Mooladhara. Mooladhara is an energy center that exists at the base of our spinal cord. Okay. This energy center stands for our material energy. Within the Mooladhara, Devi is coiled 3.5 times like a serpent. Through certain practices or by divine grace, when the Kundalini wakes up, she rises through a central energy channel in our body, which runs in the middle of our body, parallel to our spine, or like right in the middle of the spine. When you open up the human body, you'll only be able to see the spinal cord. Coinciding with that is your energy body. Now, within the energy body is your physical body, okay? When the energy body goes away, the physical body becomes jada. Then you say death has happened. There is an energy body within this. There's an energy body within this. Okay? Here, all around here. And within that, the material concentrated form is I am sitting here. Now, coinciding with my spine, there's a central energy channel at the base of which Devi is coiled like a serpent. 3.5 times. She's called Kundalini. Kundala means coil, right? She's coiled. The energy is coiled there. when she awakens because of certain practices or by divine grace, she will travel through the central energy channel, which is parallel to your spinal cord. Central energy channel is called Sushumna Nadi. Okay. She will travel through there. And at the top of this energy body is the Sahasrara Chakra. There Shiva resides. That is our divine part. Okay. Now Devi, when she rises from the Mooladhara, travels through the central energy path and reaches the Sahasrara, where Shiva resides. And that is called the union of Shiva and Shakti. So the energy has to arise from our lower body and go to the top of the energy body, Sahasrara, where Shiva, the ultimate supreme being, resides in us. When this energy meets that energy, then that is called the union of Shiva and Shakti. It is told that Sahasrara is somewhere at the crown. We call that as crown chakra. Okay. Now, when this happens, there is a coaxial fluid. There's a fluid like, at the base of your pituitary gland. Because of the heat of the Kundalini, that melts and you can feel that like at the base of your tongue. That is called Amrita. It tastes very sweet. But only one drop will come if Kundalini rising has been successful. If you've drunk that, you will become a very, a realized personality. Okay. That is Kulamrita. So Devi, she enjoys that Kulamrita, meaning when she unites with Shiva and that nectar comes, she enjoys that nectar. So that is the meaning of this word Kulamritaika Rasika. So Kundalini is there at the Mooladhara. It has to rise through the central channel and go to the topmost chakra, the Sahasrara, where Shiva resides. And they both unite. Amrita flows in our body. So Devi enjoys that. So this is Devi in her Kundalini form, the energy form within each one of us. How is she in the energy form within each one of us is called the Kundalini form. So if you see, the physical form is very gross, which can be enjoyed by all the five senses. Then comes the sound form. It's probably only the higher senses can perceive. It gets even more subtler with the Kundalini form. It is something you have to imagine. Then there is even more the subtlest form that's going to come. It will be there. Like we are going to do that also. Okay. So Kulamritaika Rasika. Then Kula Sanketa Palini. Sanketa means there are secret signs, symbols, a lot of mudras and teachings associated with this Kula tradition. So Devi is the one who, Palini means who preserves this, who protects this. What is the meaning of this? Can you guess?
அதாவது நம்ம செய்யக்கூடிய அந்த பிராக்டிசஸ் வந்து பாதுகாக்கிறவா அப்படி அந்த மாதிரி
When Kundalini arises, okay, when Kundalini arises, either you receive all that through your guru or then certain things happen to you. Devi becomes your protector then. So she becomes protector of the tradition, that spiritual lineage and the worship itself. Therefore, she's called Kula Sanketa Palu. Okay. Sanketa means usually in secret signs, right? Sanketa means actions which are not spoken about, very explicitly. So when the Kundalini arises, there are certain things that happen within you. Devi protects you there. It's the tradition itself, Kula, that she protects. So Kula Sanketa Palini. When we finish this section and we kind of, when we put together all of these in one flowing format and see, you'll be able to understand this better. Kulamritaika Kula Sanketa Palini. Next, Kulangana. Devi herself is that Kula. She herself is a tradition. Angana means woman, lady. Revered, respected lady. Angana means a lady from a respectable family. So she is a lady of the, she is a divine feminine of the Kula tradition. Okay. In other words, she is that Shakti that radiates Shiva's energy. Or in layman terms, the body, the universe that we see, that we are able to see around us, is Devi's manifestation. Shiva doesn't manifest himself. Shakti manifests the energy of Shiva. So whatever manifestation you see is Shakti. So she is a divine feminine energy that appears as the manifested universe around you. So therefore she is Kulangana, the divine feminine of the universal manifestation. She is called Kulangana. Then Kulantastha, she resides within this Kula. She is a manifested universe. She created the manifested universe. She is also residing within the universe. Antastha means one who goes within it, one who enters this, one who stays in it. So Parameshwara is energy, potential energy. Okay, there is a dam filled with water. What use is this water if it is going to stay in one place? Can you do something out of it? The water aggregates there, it stays in the dam. There's a lot of potential energy building up. But how will you know that the water exists there? Only when it moves, right? Only when you open the dam and the water flows, does it create electricity. The potential energy is Shiva. Shiva is there, always there. But if you want to know what Shiva is, then you have to have the kinetic energy. Shakti has to come with. Because she is the one who will manifest that energy. So she is the kinetic energy. Parameshwara is potential energy. So this is basic physics we all learn. We cannot separate kinetic energy from the potential energy, right? Yes? Okay. When I say energy, can I talk about kinetic energy and potential energy without saying that the energy is within it? Energy is very much there. If it doesn't manifest, it is Shiva. And it manifests, it is Shakti. Can you separate these both? They are two different faces, but they are one and the same. Therefore, Devi is called Kulantastha. She is the one who resides in that Kula. In that tradition itself, she is there. Okay. Kulangana, Kulantastha, Kaulini, Kulayogini. Kaulini. She embodies, she belongs to this Kula, the Kula tradition. And Kulayogini, she is the one who has given this tradition, who helps us join with that Shiva. She is the one who takes us, she is the one who makes Shiva out of us. She is the one who unites us with Shiva. Yogini. She is an accomplished yogini, means she makes us unite with Shiva. She is the one who unites us with Shiva. She is Kula Yogini. When we come under her tradition, when we see her as the manifested universe, and when we are able to contemplate the unmanifested Shiva behind it, and we are able to meditate on it, see Devi as everything in this manifested universe, slowly she is going to shift your reality and make you united with Shiva. So this is Kundalini Shakti. What happens when Kundalini in your body awakens? Your perception of the reality changes. Nothing else is going to happen. The byproduct will be abundance. The byproduct will be effortlessness. The byproduct will be opportunities. All of that is, very tiny, whiny, very meager byproducts. When Shakti arises and unites with Shiva, when you're able to perceive that, then your reality shifts. You're able to see everything as Shiva and Shakti. Tirunavukarasar has done that. Madar Pirai Kanyane, when he goes for Kailasha Darshana and Parameshwara gives him Kailasha Darshana, he wakes up in Tiruvayar. And what does he see? A male elephant and a female elephant, a cock and a hen, a man and a woman. He understands, oh, Shiva and Shakti is everything in this manifested universe itself. One example. Look at everything around you. You see the fan running. Can you feel the air of the fan? That is Shakti working. Who is the electricity behind it? That is Shiva. Can you look at your own body? Someone's listening. And energy is being expended. Who is listening? Who is that energy? Now, when Kundalini arises, this becomes your very natural state. Now, here we use our intellect to understand, right? And Kundalini awakens and arises. When Devi arises within our energy body as the Kundalini and reaches Shiva, we are able to see everything in this perspective. This is why she is called Kula Yogini. She will make us unite with Shiva. Okay? Then Akula Samayantastha. Now we spoke about Devi as the manifest universe. The next Nama says she is Akula. She created the universe. She is within the universe, which leaves us with one more possibility. She is beyond the universe also. She is beyond manifestation also, as Shiva. I want to go back to the example I gave you last week. If you want to draw a cat on paper, right? Where does that cat on the paper come from? It has to come from your mind, right? Most probably, it is very likely that you will draw a cat that you learned to draw when you were in your kindergarten. Why? That is the first memory of cat you have. Where does it come from? From your mind? Now, in the mind, it has to take a form before it comes on paper in the physical form, right? So, if something has to come into material form, it has to be in a subtle form, right? From the subtle form only it comes into material form. Correct? Huh? Yes. If a cat has to come on paper, it has to be in your mind first. In your mind, it is in subtle form. From the subtle form, it comes to the physical form. So, if something is coming, it has to come from something that is not created, right? Devi manifests something, but she must be in an unmanifested form first for her to bring something into manifestation. Therefore, Devi is that unmanifested Brahman also. We saw this in the last class also. She is that unmanifested Brahman, unmanifested energy. Therefore, she is called Akula. She is beyond all this creation. Akula. So, right now we saw the Kaula tradition, right? Kulangana, Kulantastha. Next, they speak about the Samaya tradition. Now, before I talk about the Samaya tradition, I want to end this class with a note about the Kula tradition or the Kaula tradition. It is called Kaula Marga. Kaula Marga is still practiced in a lot of places in South India, but it was, a chief tradition that was practiced in earlier ages in Kashmir. Okay. Now, if we can understand what we have read so far, we will be able to see that in the Kula tradition, Devi is in the unmanifest form and manifest form. So Devi is worshipped as the subtle form and the gross form. So there were rituals for this. They were called the Panchamakaras. Okay. Now what were the Panchamakaras? This is something that's widely misunderstood, and I want to use this opportunity to, tell you about the Panchamakara. Okay. Pancha means 5, Makara means M. Ma. What were the 5 M's? One was Madhya. So in some Kaula traditions, consecrated wine. Madhya means wine. Madhya means what? Wine. They would make wine and offer it to Devi. In the gross form, it is wine. But what is it symbolic of? Wine symbolizes the divine intoxication. I told you, right? When Shiva meets Shakti, bliss flows in our body. Which means what? You are intoxicated about Devi. You are drunk about Devi. In this intoxication, you are crazy about her. So the wine is a symbolic of that. You are not intoxicated in the samsara. You are intoxicated in the essence of Devi, the immortal bliss. Which is why in the Kaula tradition, wine is prepared from grapes. They offer it to Devi. So out of the 5 M's, the first M is wine. This system is widely misunderstood. Very few practices of this is left. Very few people practice it in the way it used to be practiced. But this is the Kaula tradition. We spoke about Kulangana. Now what is this tradition? This is the tradition. So Devi is given consecrated wine, Madhya. The second Makara is Mamsa, meat. In some Kaula traditions, meat is cooked and offered to Devi. Whatever the 5 M's are, they are all, looked upon in society as very bad. Some things that abhorred in the society. But the same things are converted into rituals and offerings for Devi in the Kaula tradition. The first is wine. We say when someone drinks wine, they become addicted to it. Here, you are addicted to Devi. You are intoxicated with Devi. Wine. Second, meat. When you eat meat, your ego shifts, right? You become more egoistic. You become more violent, more aggressive. But here, mamsa, meat, is where mamsa means may I not speak harmful words. Mamsaha. I am removing all aggression within me. I am removing all violence from within me. So you are removing that from within you, you are offering it to Devi. What is the symbol for that? Meat. Okay? You are offering your harmful words, your harmful tendencies, your aggression to Devi. So you are offering your lower nature. You are saying, I am giving it up. I am offering it to you itself. So Madhya, Mamsa. The third is Matsya, fish. Fish is cooked and offered to Devi. Now what does fish symbolize? Matsya. Fish in yoga traditions is symbolic of your Ida and Pingala Nadi. The right side of your body is Pingala, the left side is Ida. When these both are balanced, your central energy channel Sushumna activates and Kundalini is able to rise. Okay? So when you offer Matsya to goddess, what are you saying? I'm balancing my prana. My Ida and Pingala Nadis is how your prana flows, the life energy flows in your body. So you are symbolically balancing your prana flow in the body. So that the divine consciousness within you is able to awaken. Where the lower tendencies of your body and mind subdue and the divine consciousness takes over. For that you need to control your prana flow. So Ida Nadi and Pingala Nadi, the left and right side of your body is how these prana flows. So offering fish is symbolic of that. Matsya. Okay. The fourth is Mudra. So Madhya, Mamsa, Matsya. The fourth is Mudra. Mudra means yogic mudras, controlling the 5 elements. You have 5 fingers because there are 5 elements acting within you. Why do you have 5 fingers, by the way, in each hand? 5 elements. The 5 elements that's running in your body, therefore 5 fingers. If you want to control these 5 elements, we use mudras. Mudras can control the 5 elements in your body, give you inner mastery. So to attain Devi, we need inner mastery. Right? And you're locking that energy of Devi within the body with mudras. So mudras are used for a lot of reasons. To seal your good energy within the body, to balance the 5 elements in your body so that your divine consciousness can awaken and your lower consciousness subdues. Therefore, prana balances, the Sushumna gets activated. So use mudra, right? The 5th is called Maithuna. This is the most misunderstood of the Panchamakaras. Maithuna means sexual union. So in actual Kaula traditions, okay, this is done as an offering for the Devi. Okay. But this symbolizes the union of the individual consciousness with the supreme consciousness. Now, a couple of demons about the Panchamakaras. In a lot of traditions, even if Panchamakaras are practiced, they are now symbolically practiced. A lot of people don't use wine, meat, fish, or Maithuna. For Maithuna, they use flowers. Okay. Instead of fish, they use dates. Instead of wine, they use dates. Okay. Instead of fish, instead of mamsa, they have something else. So symbolically, it is practiced in a lot of traditions still. One more thing. Even if someone practices Kaula tradition, they are worthy of worship. Okay. Why? Because if they get drawn by their senses, the person who is doing this worship using all these 5 makaras, if he allows his ego to overpower, if instead of doing it as an offering, if even for a split second, the worshipper starts enjoying it, it becomes the end of his story. It is said that he will go mad. A lot of people consider Maithuna as like the most idiotic thing, an antisocial activity. But there's a reason why this is done. If it is done, you have to do it as an offering, not because you are enjoying someone. So the people who practice this are very careful in their intentions, and not everybody is entitled to it. Very rare traditions, but this was done. I'm just giving you, I'm saying this because there's a lot of misunderstanding surrounding Shakti worship. No, the most antisocial of things was converted into ritual and offered to Devi because we are offering our weaknesses to her and we are saying, you take over. That is Kaula tradition. Okay? Yes. So Devi herself is a protector of these Kaula traditions. Again, today symbols are used instead of the Panchamakaras and very rare usages of Kaula traditions have. It is also called the left-handed tradition. Then we are going to see in the next class the right-handed tradition, which is the Samayachara. So I want to elaborate that, in the next class because that's going to again take a lot of time. Okay? Yes. All right. If you have any questions, please let me know. Yeah, we're done with today's class. Kulangana, Kulantastha, Kaulini, Kulayogini, Akula, Samayantastha, Samayachara, Tatpara. So, Samayachara, Tatpara part we will see in the next class. Okay? Chalo. Catch up next class. Ram Ram.
Ram Ram.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.